Hello everybody and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 lore video. Today we're looking at the new story ArenaNet added with the Super Adventure Box update, which, if you think about it, in essence, the Super Adventure Box doesn't sound like the greatest thing to attach a really nice story to, but they've given it a shot anyway. So that's what we're going to talk about. There is a short story on the website. As ever, if I've been a little bit quicker putting this video out, I could have done two different ones and we could have been more comprehensive in each, but I'm actually going to include both. So today we are doing a short story, but also speculation on all the stuff we find in-game at this moment, and probably the rest of the month too. The next patch is just to do with Gw2. I doubt it will change anything with the Super Adventure Box, but we will see. Okay, so I want to start off, guys, by explaining the story as we know it. Super Adventure Box was added to the game last April. It was sort of half April Fool's joke, half massive, amazing new content, but it was very out of the scope of what Tyria is usually like. The idea is there is this invention known as the Super Adventure Box that was created by an Asura named Motto. Now, this is an Asuran machine that's designed to teach young Asurans about the world through an interactive play experience. It's basically a Tyrian video game, and it's not just to teach young Asurans about the world, but it's also to challenge, you know, the Norn and the Char, and many of the other races that currently exist. Motto opened it up to everyone. The idea is he's earning money off of this machine he's created, the Super Adventure Box. The story of the Super Adventure Box itself, this video game, essentially, is that there is a beautiful princess named Mia, who has been kidnapped by this horrible monster guy, and you must rescue her. It's a very cookie cutter, basic, oh, the princess has been stolen, we need to go rescue her story. There are jokes in game that Princess Mia, this character that gets kidnapped, is actually just the inventor, Motto, in a wig and dress. For example, you can read books in the shops within the Super Adventure Box that are written in New Crichton. One very interesting thing about this is all the UI of this video game, this Tyrian video game, is all New Crichton, and we just get it translated with our UI, if that makes sense. But you can actually translate some books in shops there, and one of them talks about how basically Princess Mia is just Motto in a wig and dress, and they do look very similar. And in fact, in the latest patch, to get a mini Princess Mia, you actually have to combine a mini Motto with a wig and dress, and so forth. Whether that actually has significance for the story in the future is debatable, and they actually really add to that. So I want to establish that now. That was everything in the last patch. Now the Super Adventure Box is back and more levels have been added to it, as well as a new mode, Tribulation Mode. There's absolutely no story included with Tribulation Mode, but they did add something interesting once you complete all of the zones. You get a preview of World 3. World 3 is not completed yet. It will arrive next time the Super Adventure Box returns, presumably. But you can go in there once you've completed everything right now and come across a very interesting encounter. You find a genie in the preview of the next zone, the Sparkling Caves, I believe it's called. There's a genie stood on a rock who tells you there's a secret way to beat the Super Adventure Box that Motto's not telling you about. There's a secret way to do it. And to win, all you have to do is defeat what he calls the true enemy's machine. Now, the fact that this guy's a genie straight away is pretty interesting. There is only one other genie I can recall in all of Guild Wars lore. One genie. There might be another one in some obscure place. But the main genie is probably one that you've all interacted with. That's Zomeros. Zomeros, this character inside the Mystic Forge, that's a genie. You've got to be aware as well, guys, genies are not the same as Jinn. In Guild Wars 1, in Nightfall, we came to know these spiritual creatures made of fire and water, known as Jinn. Jinn are in a very specific place in lore. They're mostly from Nightfall. They have the ability to look just like humans, to sort of shapeshift and look just like humans, and there's sort of a bit of a mystery, a bit of a hint that maybe one of the members of the Order of Whispers is a Jinn, but they're not the same as genies. Genies we don't really know that much about. Zomeros is one, and now we found another one in the Super Adventure Box. On its own, this doesn't really mean anything because we don't really have that much lore, but to go back to the books, I already told you there's jokes on the books about Princess Mia being Motto. One of the other books, the Red Book, if you translate that, it says to avoid the genie. Like, the title of one of the books you can find is Avoid the Genie. This was something that was in the original Super Adventure Box update back in April. So even back in April, ArenaNet knew that they had this story with this genie they wanted to do. And now we found a genie. Now, I guess the Super Adventure Box has been subtly hinting at us to avoid the genie, but let's just assume for now that this genie is pure of intent, and there is a secret way to beat the Super Adventure Box, to defeat the true enemy's machine. Now, what is the true enemy's machine? The genie tells you that it can be found in Ratasum. So we're not talking about inside the Super Adventure Box anymore. We're going back outside into regular Tyria. And at the research waypoint in Ratasum, there's been a new lab added to the game. I believe it was just closed doors before this update came out, and now those doors are opened. You can see several of these like mini labs around Ratasum, and ArenaNet have actually just sort of opened some of the doors. So there's a new lab you can enter that the genie tells you to go to. And this new lab is complete with a couple of new NPCs. 3 of them are named. One's named Gw2, one's named Yavi, and one is named Nim. Gw2 is a male Asura. It's one of these other male Asura. It's like Gw2. It's a male Asura that ends in a vowel, which is like a very feminine name. But so there's 3 Asura: Gw2, Yavi, and Nim. These 3 guys have a lot of idle dialogue that I'm going to come back to in a second, but that's very interesting, but we'll look at that in just a moment. But so to gain access to this true enemy's machine, it's actually not enough to just go into this new lab. You actually have to enter a password for a door to go to a restricted section, and you get that password from the genie. It's written on the rock that the genie stood on. It's a really easy code to remember. It's written in New Crichton, but you can recognize it almost instantly. It's up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. Okay, so the BA is really the only bit that you have to translate from New Crichton, but you'll probably understand it straight away. It's the Konami code. So you go to this door in this new lab, and you enter this password. It's actually really cool. You get loads of dialogue boxes, and you just go up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. Once you do this, you gain access to a small instance in this really like claustrophobic little room. And in this room, there is only one thing to interact with, just this machine, right? You press F on it, and the game will play a cutscene for you. Instead of describing it to you, I think I'd like to start doing this in the videos. I'm actually going to let you guys watch it. So check out this this cutscene. This is what you see once you try and destroy the true enemy's machine.
The sublattice is aligned, the refracting core is nominal, and the data slipstream is at 200 units per pulse. Phase 1, complete. Just let me get tethered in and we're ready to go.
Wart, Nimb, maintain the oscillations and make sure the flux lines remain free and clear.
We don't need those. We'll be fine.
What did I teach you? Always have a flux line so your experiment will be fine. Wart, watch that line. Gw2, are you ready?
To be the next SNAF prize winner? Absolutely.
One step at a time. Starting the power up for phase 2.
So relaxing. So much knowledge.
Subject is in pre-sleep state. Neural connection is tethered to the data slipstream. Moving to phase 3. Phase 3 is a go. Full amplification.
Waffles exist in every dimension. I can do the funky moa, the char stool every towel. I am the color orange.
Start initiating the shutdown protocol.
My head. What's happening? What's going on?
Just hold still. We're containing a mysterious surge. Nimb, Wart, dissipate the aether flow along the tertiary circuits. All right, disengage Gw2.
Oh, I feel like someone shoved too many books in my brain. Stupid books. Books with pictures in them. I thought I had everything perfect. I can't believe I fouled this up so badly.
Stay calm. We'll get to the bottom of this.
By the way, what's a waffle?
Okay, so a lot of that's pretty self-explanatory, I would hope. There's a lot of Asura speak there. There's obviously a bit of a joke about waffles. I'm actually curious to look on the trading post, see if you can make waffles. Because there's a lot of foods in Guild Wars 2 that you wouldn't expect to exist in Tyria, but they do. And I wouldn't be surprised to see waffles are one. I guess they're not because Gw2 doesn't know what waffles are. Is that maybe a hint that somewhere out there is another world where they've invented waffles? Who knows? There's also a nice reference to the SNAF prize, of course. SNAF prize being something that was referenced again with the Scarlet story we saw last time. Don't forget Scarlet. I have a feeling Scarlet's going to tie into this somehow. She was talking about playing forces against one another, and we're going to see a little bit of that in a second. There's nothing specific that links to her just yet, but do remember that anyway. We have another reference to the SNAF prize, and a bit of information about what this machine is that these Asura are trying to create. It appears to be another means of teaching people about the world. It's sort of a competitor to what Motto's created. This thing is called the Somno Scholar, and as far as I can tell, it teaches you about the world while you're sleeping, which is a very interesting and nice premise, but it's sort of in competition with what we've seen Motto's created. Why there are so many Asurans trying to create a device like this right now seems a bit odd, but it will be answered in just a moment. So it sort of looks like at face value that Motto has been instructing us, the users of his Super Adventure Box, to sabotage his competitors, and he's just sort of manipulated us. He's called it the True Enemies Machine. We obviously didn't win the Super Adventure Box, nothing happened. We just sort of damaged the intent of these other Asura, who actually I feel kind of sorry for. I really do. I destroyed their machine, and I'm not even 100% sure why, and I feel sort of bad. And that's really interesting. I like that, because that's sort of something I never really felt with Guild Wars 2 before. Sort of, oh, am I the bad guy? I feel kind of bad about what I just did. But that's what it looks like. The Motto is just trying to get us to sabotage their device. That's what Gw2 believes too. Gw2 has a lot of idle dialogues, and if you stick about in that instance after the cutscene, he'll have some dialogue too where he basically keeps saying, he did it, I know he did it, he's up over at the Creators Commons, which is where Motto is right now, and he keeps mentioning that he's very annoyed about Motto, basically. He never says Motto's name specifically, but you can tell he's talking about Motto. But you, the player, after all of this has happened, actually get the option to speak to Motto again next to his Super Adventure Box, and you can say to him, hey, check it out, I destroyed the True Enemies Machine. The genie told me to do it, how does this mean I win? You can speak to Motto about it explicitly. But Motto doesn't have any idea what you're talking about. He says, he appears completely oblivious. He's like, what are you talking about? I don't really understand. I think you've been playing too much Super Adventure Box. Maybe you should take a break. Now, is he faking that? Or does he really not know what the Super Adventure Box is commanding people to do? It might seem like maybe he's faking it. He's just trying to save face. He's in a public place. He doesn't want to be seen talking about it. But I actually think he could be oblivious. And that's because of the short story ArenaNet released. It also brings us back to this idea of the genie. Remember, we had a book that said, avoid the genie. Maybe the genie's the bad guy here. The genie, somehow, this part of the Super Adventure Box has gone rogue, and it's just trying to set the Asura against one another. But why? What's the motivation there? We really don't know. As well, just before we go to the short story, which will sort of complete this mystery as we currently see it right now, let's go back to those idle dialogue I mentioned between Gw2 and Yevi. These characters actually mentioned that Motto was once a part of their crew, and they used to, before they were working on the Somno Scholar, they were working on something else, and before they were working on that other thing, they were working on something called the Adventure Box. Not the Super Adventure Box, that's what Motto's created, it was just the Adventure Box. And that seems to be where this story began. As it would seem, Motto used to work with them, and he got kicked out during the Adventure Box project, which has now been abandoned. So what's all this about? Let's have a look at the story that was released on the Guild Wars 2 main website. I'll be reading it out as I typically do. I hope you guys enjoy, and then we'll be wrapping this video up, because really, it just asks a lot more questions. So, here we go. This is the short story named Shadowbox. The energy beams over the door solidified, separating Motto from his lab once and for all. He stood in the streets of Ratasum in the driving rain. The container holding his meager belongings sagged from the downpour. All he had left after 2 years of collaboration was reduced to his box of possessions. He felt himself shrink and fade in the rain, as if he would slide into a storm drain and vanish forever. A patrolling peacemaker golem broke through his shock. Loitering is prohibited in this area. Move along. Motto's shoulders slumped. I don't have anywhere to go. He wandered Ratasum, which was as dormant as a dead power crystal at night. His only companions were the thoughts that he had. No lab, no money, no invention. All he had were his belongings and the dream of building an invention that was grand and heroic, showy and magical. It was something his crew had never been able to join him on. Despair settled over him, multiplied by his empty stomach. He found Echo's fish stand by the College of Dynamics dorm. The glass tank displayed Echo's trademark. Fish made luminescent by the phosphorescent agent he fed them. Motto ordered a fish skewer, only to find he didn't have enough copper to pay for it. Motto sighed and pulled off a gold bracelet that she, now an ex-crewmate, had given him for his birthday. He presented it to Echo, who picked it up, tossed it into the trash, and handed Motto a used empty skewer. Motto departed, trying not to hear Echo's laughter. Motto banged on the door between the lengthy doorbell buzzing. A voice as friendly as a fist came through the speaker. What? Lord, it's Motto. We conversed last month at the Arcane Council's Brandy and Benefactors party. You funded our prototype entertainment device, the Adventure Box. I also funded a state-of-the-art security system that I'm about to activate. It will send a plasma beam through your cranium. I need funding. I'll humour you. What's your project? Motto floundered. He was used to pitching to investors in comfortable locations where it wasn't raining and where the alcohol was flowing. I get it. You don't want to say where others can hear. I'll come to your lab, right? I'm in between labs at the moment. So, you don't have a prototype or a lab, but you come to me inquiring about funding anyway? Yes. Interrupt my sleep again and I'll introduce you to my large, hungry Drake. The speaker clicked off. Weeks later, Motto hunkered down in the makeshift lab he'd built in the Dynamics dormitory showers. The dormitory had cleared out after students had discovered their skin glowing after showering. Dynamics technicians had been stumped until an anonymous tip had fingered Echo's fish stand. As peacemakers had carried Echo away, he'd claimed someone had stolen his phosphorescent agents. Such rotten luck, Motto thought as he'd consumed another energy tonic. Hours remained and Motto felt time slipping from him. He'd promised Lord a working prototype in a month, which had sounded like a distant milestone at the time, but more recently stalked him as a predator would. Energy drinks wouldn't sustain him anymore, so Motto channeled raw emotions to keep working. Fear assembled the casing, pride laced the power crystals through the architecture. He pictured his old crew and how, after he got famous, they would cry in his shadow for kicking him out. That anger let Motto finish programming the characters. Before he knew it, the prototype clicked into one seamless unit. Motto gazed upon his creation and smiled, but that was absorbed by exhaustion. Just a nap, he mused. Then I'll test it. Motto awoke to shouts. Motto! Don't tell me you're making me wait for my own appointment! Oh, Spark, Lort! Motto scrambled to his feet. His only thought, the prototype wasn't tested. Lort would see Motto's prototype sputter and fail, walk out and take his gold with him. But he couldn't keep Lort waiting. Resigned, Motto opened the door. Looking like a wrinkled fruit in a robe, Lort held a leash tethered to a massive red drake. This is Buttercup. Lort walked into the shower lab. You got one shot. Impress me. So, is that it? Lort studied the cube sitting on a table. What does it do? Lort activated the cube's power crystal as Motto prepared an apology. Well, Motto started, only to be cut off. In every direction, the room, made of tile and metal, was transformed. Stylized, blocky green grass sprung out of the floor, while the ceiling was painted a rich blue, dotted with smiling white clouds. Along the floor, flowers perked up in the grass, and rows of trees emerged in silent splendor. It was flawless. The graphics were smooth and charming, the quirky sounds played at the proper volume and at the right moments, and the creatures roamed the simulated grasslands in their proper patterns. In the distance, a beautiful blonde girl appeared. She gave Motto an energetic wave. He didn't think he'd polished the characters, but the princess model was done, and more she reminded Motto of her. It's completely immersive, Lort said, straining to take it all in. How did you... Motto felt the words tumble out. A little six-dimensional mathematics, a little advanced magiscoping. You have my attention, Lort whispered. What else? Motto gazed at the princess. You travel through distant lands, fight monsters, and rescue the princess from the evil lord. Selling human fairy tales to the bookers? Clever. What about the Norn in the Char? I'll just say it's too difficult for them. They'll see it as an insult then, of course. They'll want to play. Lort let loose a raucous laugh. What's your name for this moneymaker, my young genius? Motto shrugged. Super Adventure Box. The princess smiled and waved to Motto. Motto lifted his hand to wave back, but froze when he spotted an ominous shadow in the shape of himself behind her. Motto blinked, and the shadow was gone. So, that's the story. That's the short story ArenaNet gave us after all this business in-game. What the heck does it mean? We're already about 20 minutes in. Honestly, I don't have too many insights. I would like to mention a couple of things about the story first, though. First of all, I love the mention of the energy tonic. This really doesn't have much to do with the mystery here. I love the mention of the energy tonic and that they are a real thing still in the lore and that he's drinking them. I love the insights to life at Ratasum. But let's look more importantly at what this is all about. So it ends on this mysterious shadowy figure of himself. What the hell does that mean? Think back to the title of the story, The Shadowbox. Is the Super Adventure Box really the Shadowbox? Clearly someone is helping Motto. I think Motto is oblivious to what's going on with this genie. Is the thing that's helping him for some reason, for some nefarious plotting, the genie itself? Maybe not. We can't say for sure, but someone is tampering with the box without Motto knowing about it. There are several hints to it in here. There's all this suggestion that stuff had been created within the box that he didn't do himself, like how he hadn't perfected the AI patterns or whatever they were talking about. Someone else did that. Someone fine-tuned it. Maybe in its untested state, it would have just failed. He fell asleep, though. I bet when he fell asleep, someone else came in. Scarlet, possibly. I'm going to throw it out there. You know, if they're going to try and tie it all together, this could be where Scarlet comes in. Scarlet, last we heard, was talking about playing different forces against one another. It does seem like she was specifically in reference to the Nightmare Court on the Pale Tree there. Perhaps. Or maybe she was talking about the Elder Dragons, or just in general, she's just going to start manipulating the crap out of people. Who knows? It's a long shot, though. I don't want to bank on it too much. I do want to raise that suspicion, though, because some people have it. Someone's helping him, though. Someone has worked on this adventure box, in my opinion. But why? There is sort of another element to the story here. If you go back to the idle dialogues of Yevi and Keto, they talk a lot about Motto. This bracelet that Motto had, this probably came from Yevi. Princess Mia is probably based on Yevi herself. That's kind of what this reference was, where he says, oh, I saw this beautiful woman that reminded me of her. I believe that Motto and Yevi have a lot of history behind them, but we just don't get the full picture just yet. Something very weird, though, is going on, and I like it. I really do. It's interesting now that we've got this enemy within the box, the genie. Is the genie a real genie in real Tyria that's been doing all of this stuff? Is it related to Scarlet somehow? Who knows? And when the Somno Scholar is perfected, what does that mean? There's a lot of motivations and moving pieces. We just don't have the full picture to you just yet, though, guys. I haven't looked on the forums or anything before making this video. If you guys have got any good theories or you know anything that's buzzing around, I'd love to hear people talking about it in the comments, and I'd love to stay in the loop too. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I will keep you up to date as I learn more, as more updates come out. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you next time for more Shadowbox. What the fuck was that outro? Wow, okay.